February 6, 1922. The illustrious magician and escape artist Harry Houdini is known throughout the world not just as the most famous magician throughout all of history, but also as the most famous debunker of magic tricks. He famously bragged that he could figure out any illusion or trick if it was performed for him just 3 times, and on this night, one magician took him to task on this offer. Faced with facing a masterful magician known for sniffing out how to do any magic trick, this challenger performed a simple card trick and then invited Houdini to explain how the trick was done. Houdini then asked him to perform the trick again and again and again. The challenger performed this trick for a total of 8 times before Houdini's own wife Bess stepped in and said, "Face it, Houdini, you've been fooled." Knocked down from his sky-high pedestal, Houdini had to face the fact that this challenger had beaten him, making the challenger a legend in his own right. My name is Braden Carlisle, and you're watching A History of Magic. This is the life story of Dai Vernon, the magician who from that night forward became known as the magician that fooled Houdini. There are few magicians as well known and revered throughout history and the world as Harry Houdini, but the only man who was actually able to fool Houdini and pull the wool over his eyes in Houdini's own challenge went relatively unknown for most of his life outside of magic circles. Dai Vernon was born on June 11, 1894, as David Frederick Wingfield Verner in Ottawa, Canada. His father was an amateur magician himself, and it was then that he took 7-year-old Dai Vernon, to his first magic show, where David fell in love with the art of magic. It was this love for magic at 7 years old that prompted David to ask his dad to teach him his very first magic trick. At only 7 years old, he had an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and magic and showmanship and illusions that from that point onward, he would later be quoted in his life saying that he wasted the first 6 years of his life. By age 13, David had memorized the entirety of The Expert at the Card Table by S.W. Erdnase, making him a masterful card magician. As he entered adulthood, David moved to New York City, where he ingrained himself in the magic culture of the city and further honed his craft. Hanging out in a back room of a magic shop owned by Clyde Powers, David would become friends with some of the most recognizable names in magic in New York City at that time. These magicians would include, but are not limited to, Nate Leipzig, Dr. James Elliott Williams, and even Harry Keller. He learned from them and became genuine friends with them. Before long, he would even create his own magic and start to impress them. However, even though the skill and respect was there, that did not translate into success right away. David made a living, if you could call it that, cutting out silhouette portraits in Coney Island for 25 cents a piece. Sure, he'd perform on cruise ships or in nightclubs. David even went on a USO tour during World War I, but he never really held a steady performing gig for more than a month or 2 at a time. Though his continued performances did earn him a meager sort of popularity, which resulted in David being featured in the local newspaper. Being featured in the newspaper for an ad for his magic definitely had its perks, though the biggest one was actually that they misspelled his name. David became Dai, D-A-V-I-D, just printed as D-A-I. That name transformation was quick. Combine that with the slower metamorphosis of Verner to Vernon, and you have the name that he would eventually use for the rest of his magic career, Dai Vernon. Now, when he wasn't performing card magic or cutting silhouettes for beachgoers, Dai was actually traveling the world, searching for anybody that can show him anything from the greatest revelation down to the tiniest minuscule detail about card magic. Anything that would make him better. That's what Dai was in search of. Honestly, whether that was even other magicians or just really, really good card cheats, that did not matter to Dai. All of this learning and travel and education was in service of honing his craft, and he eventually did accomplish, I would say, the goal that he set out in his childhood, to become one of, if not the best card technicians in the entire world. Card tricks, sleight of hand, poker demonstrations, you name it. There was no one else left to teach Dai anything. Dai was becoming the master and becoming the teacher. Even today, in the modern world of magic, he's often credited as one of the most skilled and influential card magicians of his time, alongside with his friend Ed Marlowe. But again, the spotlight eluded him. It was on this night and his run-in with Houdini when he was only 27 years old, and Houdini was 20 years his senior. This was the first time that Dai felt that elevation from a nobody to a somebody. You better believe that from this moment on, he ran with that moniker, the man who fooled Houdini. He loved it. He was finally getting that recognition. Even so, Dai Vernon never stopped learning, and he also never became a household name like Houdini, Penn and Teller, or David Copperfield. He continued his travel into his late 50s before settling down for the final 30 years of his life as the resident magician in the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, by far his longest running and most successful gig he ever had. At the Magic Castle, Dai astounded his audiences with spectacular magic, amazing illusions, jaw-dropping sleight of hand, leaving them gasping and amazed. As years passed, he would become a mentor and pass on his legendary skills and abilities to magicians including Doug Henning, Ricky Jay, and Michael Amar, just to name a few. Every single person that Dai chose to mentor became a huge legend, both in magic circles and outside of magic circles. This was all thanks to Dai's teachings and wisdoms, of course. On August 21st, 1992, Dai Vernon passed away in San Diego, California at the age of 98. According to his biographer, Carl Johnson, Dai was cremated and his remains were brought back to the Magic Castle, where they were displayed with some amazing magic memorabilia throughout history. Dai was receiving one of the highest honors in being able to remain in the Magic Castle after breaking his wand. The urn containing his ashes was placed high on a shelf, so high that it was placed almost entirely out of sight, just like the tricks he entertained so many with for nearly 100 years. My name is Braden Carlisle. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming, more like challenges and more of a history of magic.